Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. And I am Gary, your host. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and then examine the stories and the art. And this time around, as we approach the dreaded Valentine's Day, start with a little bit of spooky romance. Let me adjust that a little bit so you can see the title better. There we go. You want to take a look at this book right here. This is The Sinister House of Secret Love, #1, from DC Comics, 1971. And this is the story we're going to look at. It is written by Micheal Fleischer and drawn by Don Heck. There are no other credits like for the coloring. I don't know who did that. There was no credits at all. So I don't know who did the coloring or the inks. I'm not sure if Don Heck did the inks himself. I don't know. I'm not thrilled with the inks. The inking on this for the most part. And it's the kind of... I recently talked a little bit about Don Heck when I did that Dial H for Hero story. And Don Heck did the art, penciling and inking on that, and that was pretty good. So that makes me think that he didn't do the inking on this. But it's the style of inking here that I usually see on his pencils. And it's a little too scratchy, and it doesn't flow well. You'll see what I mean. So maybe it is his own. I don't know. The Sinister House of Secret Love is a Gothic Romance, as a horror suspense anthology series running from 71 to 74, and is a companion to Forbidden Tales of Dark Mansions. And there's just something about DC and their use of the word house in their mystery horror type titles. Like you got the House of Mystery, which you can see here and here. They got the House of Secrets, of course, Sinister House, and not using the word house, but a synonym of house is mansion, for Dark Mansions. And both those titles were inspired by the success of the Gothic soap opera Dark Shadows. But after 4 issues, the title was changed to Secrets of Sinister House. Micheal Fleischer and others did the writing on this title, but it was primarily him. And the issue after the title changed, the romance aspect of the stories were dropped in favor of the mystery horror format, just like House of Mystery. Then in issue 6, the horror host Eve debuted, and she was a cousin of Cain and Abel of House of Mystery and House of Secrets. When Joe Orlando stopped editing the title, Eve became the host of Weird Mystery Tales. And all 3 of those, Cain, Abel, and Eve, also appeared in Plop. Which thoroughly cements Plop, while a humor title, in the horror camp, because they were horror type stories. Yes, and this Sinister House of Secret Love, #1. This features What was the secret behind the curse of the Mac Intyres? The mad stranger wanted Rachel's love or her life. Yes. And this is a fairly well-known story. And it's long. This is a 48-page. At the time when DC was flirting with a bunch of the 48-page specials. So this has two stories in it. I like this cover. It's a very, very Gothic romance, and it's done in the grayscale format, is to make it more closely resemble the cover paintings of the Gothic romance books that were fairly popular at that time. And then even later they added the oval for the design in the cover to more closely resemble those Gothic horror covers or Gothic romance covers. And then gives you a little hint. Of course, we see the lovely lady in the foreground running from the castle, and here in the background, I don't know if you can see it very well because I almost didn't see them, is this tall figure here in shadows and this shorter figure, and that plays into the story. So let's take a little look here. Curse of the Mac Intyres. Chapter 1, The Secret of the Castle. And we see our main character, Rachel, here. And in a house, I presume this part is taking place in London or somewhere in England. And then the rest of it takes place in it never specifically says, I presume it's in Scotland. So here we see Rachel's father on his deathbed, and being surrounded by the servants here. And it says, I am dying, my child, but I'm not leaving you penniless. The formula will make you rich. My great discovery. Of course, we don't know what that means, and at the moment, she doesn't care. Yeah. And you see, now, this kind of work, except for here, you can see some of the stuff I don't like in the inking. It's very scratchy. Some of the way they did the cross hatching, and some of the other things. But the actual penciling is admirable. It's nice. Lovely ladies and handsome young men. As soon as you see this fellow here, who's her cousin Blair, you know he is a handsome young man. So you know that he is the the romantic interest. And it also does not specifically specify the time period, but I presume it's from the clothing styles, etc. I presume it's in the 1840s or 50s. And her father dies, and he had already arranged for. It said, "I have sent for your cousin Blair. Go with him. Hide the journal. Watch out. The Mac Intyre curse." The curse of the Mac Intyres. And now he's gone. Here is it. A few days later, the funeral. Cousin Blair arrives, and he's to take her back with him to Scotland. He is a widower, a young widower with a small young son, and she will act as governess at the Mac Intyre castle where he lives. And they get there, and some of the servants are not very friendly towards her, and the family aren't either. But it's a few days they've had a little bit of a chance to get to know one another. And also remember, at this point in history, they're cousins. They are the romantic interests, the romantic parties in the story. But remember, cousins marrying cousins was a very common thing in that time period. Oftentimes, they were just about the only people of the opposite sex that young people came into regular contact with. And it was considered okay. And legally can be considered okay too in many countries, because we know that genetically, for if they have children, if it's not done too often in a family, it's okay. But if you have 2 or 3 generations of that, that's when you start getting genetic problems, like in the royal families of Europe. But in this case, in these cases, when it was just an occasional cousin thing, it wouldn't necessarily cause genetic problems for their offspring. So here they are. She's trying to get her settled in the Mac Intyres castle. Well, not in the castle, when they're getting ready to leave. And here she's arriving there, and they're not happy. The villagers aren't happy about taking her to Mac Intyres castle, even when they find out that she is a Mac Intyres herself. And here you can see the Mac Intyres castle. It has some respectable backgrounds here. I'll show you. Like here they are. She's learning, meeting the others in the family, other cousins. The family, the servants aren't very friendly with her, but here she meets Blair's son Jamie, and another cousin, Alfie, who is a dwarf, and was a patient of her father years before. And she also meets another cousin, the lady, I've forgotten her name, Adrienne, who is also has a glandular problem, and she was at the opposite end. Whereas this one was a dwarf, she was a giantess. And they all had some problems. So it seems like Blair is the only one not hampered by the Blair curse. And don't say what the curse is specifically, other than it seems to be, they all seem to have mental problems as well, or psychological problems. And here she is in her room, and this is an admirable panel with the backgrounds. You can really see a lot in this panel of her room. Beautiful 4-poster bed, and see, of course, all the candles and stuff, all the wax dripping, and the lovely candelabra there. And then here you can see the woodworking and stonework around the hearth, and then you can see in the background some very respectable background settings here. And I would estimate that there's some respectable research into it. And here she is sleeping. She's having a dream, in wandering through the forest, and this stranger approaches her, and it's Blair, and they begin to kiss, but it's a smothering kiss. It becomes bad, turns into a nightmare, and then it's reality. There's a figure there. I can't breathe. Someone was choking her. Chapter 2, Twisted Love. Here we see a dark figure in a cloak, trying to do her harm. But suddenly the figure takes off with a crash of something. She wakes up. She's recovering, and then there's Blair at her door to see that she's all right. Then he leaves her. She's fine. She follows him. Goes down to his, because he worked with her father years before, because he was trying to cure the Mac Intyre curse. And he down there, and she sees him in his laboratory, and he's drinking something. This is kind of Jekyll and Hyde-ian, but some of the backgrounds that we see here and later of the laboratory, it's like right out of a Hammer Frankenstein movie. The way it looks, and he turns on her. And he says, "Trust no one, do you hear? Not even me." Why do I feel this way toward him? Oh, yeah. Then we have a flashback, and he's telling her how he was her father was working in the laboratory and trying to help Alfie and also Adrienne. And they have, because she unstable under treatment, she grew to an immense height. And she got extremely tall and Alfie. So it didn't work right. "We must find a cure. We must." I said, "Oh, Blair, how terrible for you." The family, which she has known nothing about. But, oh, an embrace and a kiss. And meanwhile, there we see that. And her room has been, while they were gone, her room was ransacked. And then we see Alfie burning something in the fireplace, with a mischievous and gleeful expression on his face. Later, here she is with Alfie, and he is interested in botany, but he's interested in the mutants. And he's come from the swampy area, the moors, and he shows her his collection of what she thinks is horrid and disgusting things, some mutated plants. And then she wants to go to town and said, no, he must stay here. And little Jamie's not happy about that. And then there's a rose left for her. I didn't know where that come from. But they're getting along fine. They go for a walk instead. Alfie goes with them. Yeah. Alfie the dwarf goes with them. And here, get more of the admirable backgrounds in these panels. And yes, they're growing closer and closer. And then suddenly, says, because she wants to marry him and he doesn't want to. Says, my dear, I have nothing to offer you. I come from a family cursed with madness. Yeah, there's an embrace. Don't say that, Blair. After all, I'm a Mac Intyre too, and I'm not. What's happening to his face? He turns angry, says, "And you're not mad? True, Rachel, but you're not a true Mac Intyre. You're related only by marriage." Oh, yeah, that's right. I had forgotten about that. Because she's not a true Mac Intyre. Her father was not her blood father. "Oh, Blair, you don't mean that." And he turns on her. That's their little out for them being cousins in the modern age. Here they are again at night, and weird stuff going on, and she's going through the passageways because she heard something. She wants to see what it is, and here we see something, an axe, and feet following her. And then it's Adrienne coming at her with an axe. Again, respectable background. See, even though it's not as detailed as some of the others, it's very respectable. And she's coming at Adrienne's coming at Rachel with the axe, but Blair's there just in time to save her and chews out Adrienne and locks her in her room and gives her some medication. Then takes Blair back, sits her in the sitting room, giving her some a little drink. "Here, I want you to drink this. It'll help calm your nerves." And then, this is on the creepy side, he proceeds to hypnotize her. And she doesn't, well, of course she doesn't realize it. And now she's under, and gets her to tell him about her father's journal, the formula, because it says, And that's we said, because she wasn't paying any attention at the time. She was concerned about her father, and when he died. I said, "Oh, formula in journal. Don't know it. She doesn't know what the formula is." And then he gets angry again, and I really like this panel here. The expression on his face, the lighting, and the coloring is all very nice. And here is in this other one. Then he's able to maintain his anger. And while she's under, he embraces her and he apologizes. And this is some of the scratchiness. I think that could have been done better with this inking. And there she's come out of it. She feels well rested and recovered, and leaves her in a room. She wakes up and hears voices. She wants to go check on Jamie. This time she puts on a dress, takes off her shift, puts on a dress. Jamie's not in his room. And so she goes looking through the house. I mean, all the Gothic horror tropes, Gothic romance tropes, except for no vampires. And here we get to see. She goes back down to the laboratory in the basement, and here's where you get a little better view of the laboratory. You don't see a whole lot, but it looks like it come right out of a Hammer Frankenstein movie. And he's got his assistants, and there's Adrienne on a table, and she is horrified. She runs and runs. She thinks, because he turns on her and says, "Rachel, confound it. Be quiet, you idiot. You'll ruin everything." And she turns, and there she is running out of the house into the darkness. Chapter 3, The Madman. There she is out there. And then suddenly, someone's there. Oh, Rachel. She doesn't know who it is. Rachel, my Rachel. And it's Blair. Double page ad. And he embraces her. And then, because there were dogs, she was being hounded by dogs. They were searching for her with dogs. Says Blair, "What kind of creature are you? I don't understand." Said, "I'm sorry. I've lied to you, my poor little girl." Yeah, he says that the curse, he is also afflicted with the curse. It's a multiple personalities, and he takes medication to try to keep it under control, but he has a dual personality, and I have no control over my evil side. See, it's Jekyll and Hyde type thing. He has the servants go back who were looking for her. Says, "I'm lost forever." Oh, he's horrified. That's why I need the journal. I need the formula, the cure. And then there's Alfie. I've said, the journal. I burned the journal. Now he almost goes completely mad. No, he's nearly to kill Alfie, but he's able to maintain control. But he offers her, I still have the formula. The page that had the formula on it, I kept that. And I'll trade it for her, because Alfie has fallen in love with her as well, and he wants her. No, I won't do that. And then Jamie comes up and says, don't listen to him, Father. I have it. It's right here. I went to your room to look for something to read during the night, and I found this in a book. And Alfie attacks the boy. He may well kill him, while Blair is trying to keep his evil side in check. But finally, his father's love pushes through the madness, and he's stops Alfie, saving the boy. And there says, and Jamie gives him the page with the formula. And so now everything will be all right. He'll be able to help both Alfie and Adrienne and himself break the curse of the Mac Intyres. Then they embrace, and little Jamie giggles when they kiss. And all is well in Castle Mac Intyre. And then the second story, I won't cover that, is more contemporary times, and the art is more lovely here. I can't be sure who did it. I think, yes, Vince Coletta did the inks, at least did the inks on here. And this is when his inking style is advantageous to the artwork. And this story has a ghost who falls in love with this young lady in this house. And there. So that's what I've got for this time with issue number 1 of the Sinister House of Secret Love. Oh, and thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment, please. Especially if you... Because this Gothic romance was not very prominent and rather fleeting in the comics, and I kind of like it because it's a nice blend of the two. Of course, my comic tastes are eclectic, and I like the horror and I like the romance comics as well as your standard superhero stuff. Okay, and thanks for joining me. And remember, comics are art.